Battleline Podcast. This is going to be a real treat for you guys because I know you guys in the audience really love hearing from the special operations guys. And a lot of our audience is well versed on the SEALs, on Army Rangers, on Air Force PJs, but you don't know as much about Canadian Special Ops. There's a little bit more of a mystique behind it. So I'm excited that we're going to bring on Jeff Depatie. But before we do, Fort Scott Munitions is a manufacturer of multi-federal patented solid copper and brass CNC spun ammunition. It's designed to tumble upon impact in soft tissue, leaving devastating wound channels for faster bleed out, quicker incapacitation, and it was originally developed to innovate and improve on the standard of military-grade ammunition design. It was found that not only did their ammunition, the TUI, that's their trademark, outperform competitors in the self-defense industry, but it also became apparent that it would be a top contender for hunters alike. You go to their Instagram page and you'll see hunters all over the country are using Fort Scott. Yeah. With the ammunition being CNC spun, the tolerances are some of the tightest on the market, ensuring that you receive the same results with each pull of the trigger. I am obviously not there, so I don't know what's going on with the shipping department and all that. I know that they're backed up, but I'm going to guess, and don't hold me to it, you're going to have to ask them. This is probably the last week you'll be able to order and possibly get something in time for Christmas.
Possibly is the key word. Yeah,
exactly.
Because
they guarantee.
Yeah, they're backed up. It depends on the caliber. And honestly, I don't think. Well, I don't want to put a damper in what Fort Scott's doing, but I don't know if they're going to be able to get it out for Christmas. But you will get it, but you're not going to find ammo anywhere else that you're going to be able to get it unless you go directly to a store and you buy something that isn't the quality of Fort Scott. So if you want quality, go of course check Fort Scott Munitions and just be patient with them. But everybody's ordering ammo. But are you guys out there?
In some cases, I think I could be wrong, but I think in some cases with certain caliber ammunition, it's getting there quick. It's
9mm and 5.56, which is what pretty much everybody uses. That is the standard for most intro shooters, but then also home defense and so forth, duty weapons. They get that out, try to get that out real quick. So they're catching up to it. But yeah, we don't want to guarantee them.
They may, not guaranteed, but they may be able to reach before Christmas, I'll say.
Yep.
So if you have the shooter in your life, last minute gift idea. And also I'm sure they'll be able to, if you let them know, hey, it might be a little bit of a wait, but I think you might be able to get some of it in time for Christmas. So Fort Scott Munitions is available throughout privately owned businesses in all 50 states, as well as direct online through fortscottmunitions.com. Although you can get it in stores, the only way you're going to get our discount is if you buy online. So fortscottmunitions.com. Use the exclusive promo code Battleline for 15% off your order. Only available to listeners of the Battleline Podcast. Fort Scott Munitions is a proud supporter of Chris Peranto, Battleline Tactical, and the Battleline Podcast. Once again, use the promo code Battleline, one word, for 15% off at fortscottmunitions.com. I already know that's not for subscription orders, but if you're doing a one-time order, 15% off everything, whether it's their hats, shirts, ammo, any of that. Let's get right into everything.
From Omaha, Nebraska to New York City, from planet Earth to extraterrestrial life in space, a podcast with no equal, engaged in unconventional warfare through your speakers and headphones. This is a show about embracing the suck, conquering your demons, and finding God in the face of adversity. Chris Tonto Peranto.
Twitch is on. Motherfucker, I'm going to shoot you in the face.
Ian Scotto.
Ian and I have been dating for a long time.
You are now tuned into the Battleline Podcast.
The switch is on. Battleline Podcast. Very excited of Jeff Depatie, as I said in the intro. Hey, I will say happy Hanukkah to those celebrating. This is the second night. We had the first night last night. I have the menorah going on at my house downstairs, which means because sometimes in the Jewish calendar, it falls close to Christmas this year, a little bit further from Christmas. So Christmas right around the corner as well.
What a question for you? Because I'm not familiar with. I know what Hanukkah is, but
like I've seen the Adam Sandler.
I've seen the Adam Sandler. No, there's actually other movies I've seen Hanukkah. But as Christians, we used to get jealous because, like, man, they get presents every night. They're not just. But clarify, because as kids, it was like a running competition with the kids I went to school that were Jewish that had Hanukkah, and in your 8, 9, you're like, damn, you get presents every night. But can you explain the difference to me, man? I still don't get it. I still don't.
I will be. As a little kid, I did, man. My parents were great as a little kid. So I mean, look, I'm
so that's true.
In my 30s now. So
that's not an old wives' tale. That's not that is actually accurate.
And I also will say, though, the only reason Hanukkah is like a big holiday, here in America, is really because of Christmas. It's not a religious holiday on the calendar, really. It's not like Yom Kippur or Rosh Hashanah. I think it's just kind of, you want to feel included in the holiday season. So it's not like an old biblical holiday. One of the cool things was when I visited Israel, I got to see the caves where the Miracle of Lights happened. And like in my safe down here, I have like a rock from one of those caves, which was kind of cool.
That's cool.
But yeah, no, my parents were always great and hooked me up with a ton of gifts. And I definitely have pictures from when my grandma was alive at her apartment and like surrounded by gifts and all that. As a grown man, no.
I remember growing a kid. We didn't care either way. We were all friends, and I didn't know there was a difference growing up. But I remember the kids of the Jewish faith would always give us shit. Like, yeah, we get presents every night. You get one night a week, right? And it was funny. It was, but I never. It's like, are they right? Because then you'd hear stories of the presents being, just like ladles and stuff like that. And I didn't mean
dreidels.
Dreidels. What did I say? Ladle?
Yeah, like what?
Dreidel. Sorry, dreidels. I said that. Not.
I mean, I think it's like anything else. It really has to do with what your parents make. You know what I mean? Just like a rich kid on Christmas is going to get the new Xbox, and a kid who's doesn't have parents don't have as much, or not going to be able to afford that. I think it's just like anything else.
Yeah. Okay. That's all. Now I know. I'm 49 years old, and now I finally know of the stuff that I didn't know back when I was in. I should write a book on that. I think somebody probably has the stuff I didn't know back in elementary school about Christmas and Hanukkah. Right?
Yeah.
No, it's excellent. Excellent.
So with that, I actually did want to mention, of course, I feel like we have to rest in peace to Air Force pioneer and legend Chuck Yeager. But you know what? I always feel like when someone dies at 97 years old, that is as full of a life as it gets, especially for him who lived a dangerous life.
Yeah, that's amazing. And they don't make guys like that anymore. It's the greatest, and part of the greatest generation that he was too. So that's why they're the greatest generation. I'm sure he didn't stop him and buy being a few drinks of alcohol now and then, lived a probably pretty exciting life, sometimes rough, and he still lived to 97. Nowadays you can't do that. You drink too much, you're not living to 97. We're just not built as tough as those guys back in the day.
Yeah, I don't know, because I know who am I thinking of? Buzz Aldrin. Started indulging other stuff, because I read his book and he was very open about that. Chuck Yeager, I really don't know. I don't know if he was completely. I don't know. He may have lived a completely healthy life. I really couldn't tell you. I didn't really read anything on that.
I have a hard time, just because that's the lifestyle. Not because you're an alcoholic. I mean, I don't drink a whole bunch, but I do drink every once in a while. And I have had my years that I did drink just a tad too much. But then you had the stress into it with the job, and then you had that you're always on the go. And then he's a public speaker for a long time as well, and that takes a lot of because you're always traveling. And to still make it to 97, not just with the outside factors, but the internal factors of just stress. Holy that's pretty impressive, man. That is pretty impressive.
It is. I was going to read, like the full obituary, but the guy has done so much that I don't want to take up the whole intro, but just, to read his, and this is from biography.com, to read his, biggest highlights. Fighter pilot ace during World War II, the first person to break the sound barrier when he flew the Bell X-1 rocket 700 miles per hour in level flight in October 1947, which is just crazy at that time period. Yeager later trained military pilots to become astronauts and served in various command posts until his retirement from the Air Force in 1975. That is a long career. His profile boosted by his portrayal in the 1979 book The Right Stuff and its 1983 film adaptation. Yeager became a well-known celebrity endorser and was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 1985. So that was during Reagan. And I didn't know this when I was reading up on him. I didn't know that when he broke the sound barrier a few days before, he had fallen off a horse just riding horses with his wife, and he bruised his ribs, and he wasn't able to like move his arm, and they just threw like a makeshift broom handle in there, and he still did it.
Isn't that amazing, man? That's toughness. That's why he lived to 97. You really heard the last guy that's lived in 97 years old that wasn't that went through all that he did. That's amazing. Again, it's a positive. It's not even I don't feel bad at all. It's like you can celebrate that because that's an example of how to live your life, and as far as we know, how to live your life right and still live to 97 and be still revered to the day you pass away and respected. And so as it is, sometimes you live long enough to. This is from Batman, guys. It's not my quote. I think live your life long enough to see yourself become the hero, or you see yourself become the villain. And he's lived his life long enough that he was still the hero when he passed. So a guy you admire. I admire. That's the kind of role models I had growing up. Watching guys like that, Chuck Yeager, growing up, like, man, I was we used to dress up as astronauts. Who dresses up as astronauts anymore? That was my generation. I had an astronaut little, cool as hell, man. So
that may change with the SpaceX stuff that like Elon Musk is doing is pretty remarkable.
Yeah, it is.
And we may see man go to Mars in our lifetime. I think we will.
We did. We already did. Arnold Schwarzenegger went to Mars, I thought.
I was like, am I getting something wrong? But I know Buzz Aldrin has been a huge proponent of that. He has like a shirt that says, get our ass to Mars.
Get your ass to Mars. That's what I'm total recall, man. Get your ass to Mars. You know what I have to post on his birthday? I have to remember because his birthday is coming up in January. You ever see when he punched that conspiracy theorist in the face? Like, as an old man in a hotel, this guy was like, you never landed on the moon. And he was like, will you get out of my face? And he gave this guy a few warnings. And after a certain point, this guy's probably 40 years younger than him. He just socks him right in the face. There is the generation gap right there. Greatest generation, and then you see what not all millennials are like this, but then you see the millennial generation. There you go. That's it in a nutshell. If you want to give a definition of greatest generation versus the millennial generation, and again, not all. I know there's some hard ass sons of bitches that are millennial. I have a buddy. We call him. He's a millennial ranger, is what he is.
I've seen him on Instagram.
Yeah, he's a hard ass ranger, man. But you got to admit that the actual, if you want to look at as a whole. Sorry, millennials. You need to fix yourselves and quit doing the beards with the skinny jeans and all the other garbage that we could get into if we were a political podcast. We would do that, but we won't. But that just says a lot about the greatest generation too. Those guys are just hard as woodpecker lips, bro. They don't get any harder than that.
Yeah, he's awesome. I would love to get him on the show. I mean, I did get the chance to interview him, and his book, because he's got several. The one that I read was, I think it was The Magnificent Desolation. He did a few, but the book that I read that was so cool, I thought, was that he was very honest about his alcoholism, his depression, and it's a crazy story because I think people think of, wow, being among the first men to walk on the moon with Neil Armstrong and all that. But what was crazy for him is like, he was like, where do I go from here? And he's working at, like a car dealership, and he's endorsing like vacuum cleaners. And he's just like, is this what I really want to do with my life? And he fell into a deep depression and came out and talked about it when that wasn't okay to talk about. And I just respect that guy immensely.
We talk about that stuff on the show. Actually, I think we even talked a little bit about kind of that kind of stuff last week. It's like, hey, do you really want to live like this? And then you fix yourself. And if you're a go-getter and you have that mental toughness and intestinal fortitude, and you make that change and you go fix yourself.
I think for him, part of the issue too was after he walked on the moon. I mean, we're talking about then the 70s, 80s. He wasn't, there weren't really the opportunities for him that like you have. Like, I don't think there was like a speakers bureau circuit. And there weren't guys writing books and all that. So he was just like, what do I do for money? This is like, how do I top this? I walked on the moon. You can't top that.
You can't top it. You just try to figure out what you like to do and what's to do next. And the opportunities are there for guys guys like myself and at the age that I was in the global war on terror, guys that have fought countless wars and have immense stories to learn from. You're right. The opportunities are there, but it's guys like that made these opportunities for us, because people look back and like, man, why aren't we talking to these guys? Why aren't we talking to Buzz and Chuck Yeager and all the guys, all the astronauts, and learning from them of how they overcame obstacles to walk on the moon? And so they really did, whether they were speakers or not. People that run these bureaus, I'm sure, looked at some of these amazing things they did and like, why aren't we tapping into this and using that as a motivator, using motivation or building blocks to become a successful company? Or how do you motivate your people as an executive? And so I thank those guys, because if it wasn't for those guys, we wouldn't be having a speakers bureau. I wouldn't be able to get out there and just not for the finances, but just the catharsis that you get from speaking out there. You do. Yeah. That helps out a ton, where you get out and like, man, you can let it out and people resonate and they want to hear it, but it also feels good to you inside. Like, man, I got that off my chest, and oh my gosh, I made a difference with somebody's life today. That's positive. So yeah, again, that's why we go back to say it full circle. It's why they're the greatest generation. Tough SOBs, man.
Could you believe, though, because I remember it from that book, that for several years he was selling used cars, and he says, I sucked at it. He's like, they wouldn't have kept me there. He's like, they just kept me there kind of as the novelty that people would come in and be like, you're Buzz Aldrin, and I would sign something. It's got to be really, it's got to screw with your head.
It can be humiliating, man. I'll put it out there. I'm sure it was. If it was the same, like, man, I did all this. I did all this, and now I'm living down here now. I'm living below where I was. It's demeaning. It's humiliating, but that's the toughness that guys like that had. It's like, so what? I got to provide for my family. I'm not going to go on welfare. I'm not going to look for a handout. I still gotta live and be a contributing member to society. A lot of people don't have that mindset anymore. It's just like, it's not as cool as I used to be, so I'm not going to do it. That's, to me, again, shows how tough that generation is and how much respect they had, just not for themselves, but for this country, and just to continue to be contributing members, and just how much respect they had for themselves, man. Like, fuck, I'm still got to work, and just getting up every morning, I'm sure, and just going, okay, look in the mirror. All right, I gotta go do this. It sucks. I feel like a jerk, but suck it up. I'm going to go do it. And just went and did it. But in the end, it paid in the end in a good way, because
because it even gave him material for that book. Yeah, and I found inspiring.
It's always a path, bro.
Yeah, that's also why I always say, I know I've said it before on shows, but if you get a chance to meet these guys, no matter what age you are, if you're listening or you have kids that want to meet them from that World War II generation, this is really, unfortunately, it. We're losing these guys like Chuck Yeager. And so if you have the opportunity to meet someone who fought in World War II, who was in the Holocaust, anything like that, you really got to cherish it, because it's only a few more years and we're going to lose them all. I mean, the fact that I got to interview guys at Pearl Harbor blows my mind. I will always cherish that. Interviewing Captain Jerry Yellen, I'll always remember that.
And it humbles you when I met the last Ranger from Darby's Rangers, and if Colonel Darby and his tribute, he's the godfather of the Ranger Battalion. I mean, that's where it all started. And to meet the last surviving member who eventually passed, and he wanted to come meet me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? I don't even hold a candle to what you did. But then being able to finally get to meet him and say hi, and he got off. He came to see me speak in Iowa, in Des Moines. That's so cool. I know, and then I'm like, wow, man, why are you coming to see me speak? I want to hear what you. But then to sit down and just listen to the things that he did and the toughness that he had, like, man, I can't believe you guys did all that. And it made me proud again. It just really, for me to be proud to be a Ranger again. Like, oh my gosh, that's the lineage that we're tied to, with guys like this hard ass dudes that they're never going to lose anything. And again, they live till they're 90, no matter how they live their lives, and how lucky you are to just shake their hand and just be in their presence. That's greater than being in any presence of any sort of personality, influencer, rock star. Those guys are rock stars. So I wish I would have got to meet Chuck Yeager. I did. I think that would just to shake their hands because again, that's to me that's the guys I emulated. I respected. I wanted to be growing up, and I think it turned out okay. Having those guys as role models, as well as my parents and so forth. So. Yeah.
For sure, man. All right, we have other things I want to discuss. We'll get to those after because we have Jeff Depatie coming on, who's one of these guys I've wanted to have on for a while since we started. But before we do, I'm reminding you guys once again to go to FortScottMunitions.com. Fort Scott Munitions is a manufacturer of multi-federal patented solid copper and brass CNC spun ammunition. It's designed to tumble upon impact in soft tissue, leaving devastating wound channels for faster bleed out and quicker incapacitation. This ammunition was originally developed to innovate and improve on the standard of military-grade ammunition design, and it was found that not only did the TUI ammunition outperform competitors in the self-defense industry, but it quickly became apparent that it would be a top contender for hunters alike. With the ammunition being CNC spun, the tolerances are some of the tightest on the market, ensuring that you receive the same results with each pull of the trigger. Fort Scott Munitions is available throughout privately owned businesses in all 50 states, as well as direct online through FortScottMunitions.com, FortScottMunitions.com. Use the exclusive promo code Battleline for 15% off your order, only available to listeners of the Battleline podcast. That's FortScottMunitions.com, promo code Battleline. Fort Scott Munitions is a proud supporter of Chris Peranto, Battleline Tactical, and the Battleline Podcast. So for the first time on Battleline Podcast, Jeff Depatie, who I've been meaning to have on, honestly, since we started, and we just have such a guest list of people we want to bring on. But I think, as I said in the intro, there's so much mystique to Canada Special Operations, and there's people who want to learn more about what it is you guys do. So JTF2, Joint Task Force 2, is known as the jewel in the crown of Canadian Special Ops. You served as a sniper and assaulter, and I should note, as you say on your website, JTF2 holds the record, your unit, not you personally, but the unit holds the record for the longest confirmed kill at 3,540 meters. That's almost 2.25 miles. So I'm sure that impresses you, Chris. That's insane.
I can't even see that shit. I can't even see the front of my damn pistol front sight anymore. My eyes are so shitty. No, that's impressive. I worked with some of your guys down at Gecko when I was in Kandahar. And no, great guys down at the Kansoff base. I don't know why we called it Graceland. I have no idea because that's Elvis and it has nothing to do with Canada. But that's because we're stupid. That's just. But you know, we all kind of have our stupid nuances that we do that make it jackassery fun. Yeah. But can you explain to people, because we do get people all the time, and we have some younger listeners that want to know the in-dock processes. So whenever we have SEALs or Marines or Rangers on, I always want to go into, hey, what was your in-dock like? How did you get in? And because I want them to see and hear what they really are getting into. Here's what you're expecting. It's not all sunshine and roses. So if you don't mind going a little bit of that, brother, I'd appreciate it. Because I don't know it all either. But you're in doc just joining, and then how do you make it into JT, man? JTF?
Well, like most times when you climb the echelon, the road can be long, and yeah, it's hard to find the flowers along the way sometimes, for sure. So JTF2 is the Tier 1 unit, and the Tier 2 unit is CSOR. A little bit of a different road in, but we call that both, colloquially known as Canada Special Forces. Yep. And then they fall under our Kansoff comm. Unfortunately, and maybe fortunately, we don't have something like the X-ray program where you can walk in off the street. And
no, that's fortunately. No, that I think, no, you have to earn your, cut your teeth just in the regular stuff. That's my opinion. Not to all USF babies out there. Hey, that's my opinion. You really should. You have to earn the right to go to try out for a special operations unit. And that's old school way of thinking. Anyway, sorry about that. So you can say that.
I'll hold on there and I'll circle back because it's a valid opinion because people ask me that a lot. They're like, well, when are you guys going to have direct entry? When are you going to have direct entry? And it's like, there's a lot of pros and cons to that. Now, if I'm not mistaken, like something with the X-ray, you already go through something like a boot camp just to try to get you through
It depends on the recruiter. I mean, you can go through some pre stuff, but it's not necessarily a boot camp. You will go through a boot camp though, whether it's normally it'll be through like a infantry boot camp at Fort Benning. You'll go through an 11. So you're an 11X. You're not 11 Bravo. You're 11X, and you'll go through that boot camp at Fort Benning, then go to airborne school, then shoot over to Fort Bragg.
So that's what I was saying though. You go through some hardening before you get there. But even at that, if I'm not mistaken, the stats still show that like it doesn't really do much. So it's kind of like you said, you got to cut your teeth a little bit. There's a lot of pros to it. So in that, we got to do 2 years reg time. They've brought back 2 years reserve time. Again, 2 years reserve. For those guys who aren't super sure they want to commit to the full-time thing, I think it's a good avenue. Again, though, I think statistically most guys are going to make it through if they go something like infantry, airborne.
Sure.
That's your best chance because it doesn't get easier as you climb it for sure. And then I'm going to put this out as just an opinion, Jeff's opinion. I think for the Canadians watching that it's good to go to CSOR for a bit too, because you might end up liking that and staying there, and that serves the need that because they're different mandates, so they're going to serve in different ways. But it just gives you more tools, more experience to go up into the JTF2 stream. And I think again, statistically, once you go through that, it's a lot not smoother sailing, but you numerically you have a better chance.
Well, you're better prepared. You're
better prepared. Yeah. And for the Canadians, in order to go from 0 to retirement, it's 25 years.
Oh, wow.
25 years to serve in any one unit in one little part of that echelon. It's very hard to do because they're going to either push you up, push you out. So it spreads the level a little bit. And then, a little tiny bit more in depth. It is for us at the Hill, we call it kind of, it's whatever they call that, just a normal, the name that isn't part of the government. What
do we got? You'll hear now everybody says OGA, but OGA or ORA or all that, but it's everybody, but even then now everybody knows what the hell that is too. So the name that shall not be named, I guess we'll call it.
For JTF2, if you're going to the Hill, there's there's some psych reviews, some PT testing, stuff like that. There's some scoring that they base on a few things, and if you don't move past that scoring, you don't move to the next stage. I find it pretty accurate. It does a pretty good job of not involving staff or cadre or however you refer to your instructors up front. It really can sort out some of the chaff. And when I say chaff, I don't mean people who shouldn't be there. It's just, wait your time and it'll come kind of. And then, once you pass all the PT stuff, you move into the 7-day selection. A little bit different and also similar to any one of them that came from the British streams of selections.
Okay.
Ours has a little bit of a tweak because we inherited the responsibility from our RCMP, which is similar to your FBI, kind of a national level cop kind of thing, intelligence agency. And they were handling the counterterrorism stuff. And eventually they just, it wasn't fitting where all their mandates were, and it was drawing resources in the wrong way and stuff like that. And cops, I think, have to have a very different mentality than the military. Yeah. And I think counterterrorism beyond intelligence gathering falls into a whole different headspace than the policing. So we inherited that, but it came with some things that they already had in place with their selections and things like that, which recruit for some attributes that look more copish sometimes than military. And I won't get into the details of those specifics, but that's built into that selection. And then just like anything else, selection never ends, right? So then you move into the, whatever it's up to, 1 year assaulter course. And the whole way you're on this like chopping block of ice cubes being shaved. It's, it's all high pressure, but then you're like, oh, finally, I'm going to kick back. And then you get to the unit and it's like, oh no, now I got to deliver even more. And there's real responsibility.
You're always the new guy. You're always the new guy of something. It doesn't matter what it is. You're the new guy assaulter. You're the new guy in the unit. You're the new guy that's supposed to be packing rucks. I mean, you're always the new guy. But that's the beauty of it. And that's the stress that's the weeding out process. It never ends. It really does.
Yeah,
It's sharpening. Continually sharpening.
Yeah, it sharpens. It keeps the pressure, making diamonds. And then it also keeps it interesting too.
Yeah.
You can't just relax in a comfort zone.
Yeah.
It makes sure that you're there and you're accountable to your buddies all the time. And I remember when I went into my sniper course, actually, I was like, holy, I'm here again. And I'm like, when am I going to conquer pressure? When am I going to be able to just never feel that feeling, And then when you're done, you're like, okay, well, maybe a little more wouldn't hurt, Where else can I find it?
You miss it. You do miss it, but you're right. I remember those days. You're like, damn, finally there. Nope, you're not. No, something else is about to pop up. Now you got a team. Oh shit, I'm the new team leader. Oh, it's all. But you're right. It doesn't allow for you to be lethargic. You can't be that way. If you want to succeed, you have to continually improve. And if you don't want to, tough shit. They're going to make you improve, or you're gone. Yeah. I like the diamond analogy. Because you're right. It's just pressure to make a diamond, or you're going to crack, and you're really not a diamond anyway. And that's
yeah.
I like that.
It has some built-in. It keeps you accountable.
Yes.
In a world where there's high stakes.
Yes.
The win-lose can be serious. So
you're
especially, at national level interest, in the tier 1 realms and stuff at any level of it, like it doesn't, you go into the military, there's huge need for accountability and on all levels. And,
so I didn't know
that in.
I didn't know that your 1 week was I thought it was tailored more off the SF selection. I didn't know it was tailored off SAS, man, off the Brits then, because that's pretty. They have a pretty freaking hard selection.
Oh, well, let me rephrase that. So when I say that, what I'm kind of alluding to is in World War II.
Okay.
What's it called? Like Devil's Brigade stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
When they were developing, when some of the intelligence agencies were developing up, they started to mold these things, and then the SAS formed their selection, and it kind of became, as we went on, now I guess the Five Eyes community, but at the time the Allies, we all poached a little bit,
yeah,
and then put our own flavors, of course. But sometimes, like if you're looking for product X, you have the formula, it works. I mean, why
change it? There's no reason.
Why change it, right? It'll adapt, for American needs, which are slightly different, and it'll adapt for Canadian needs. But when ours was handed over, a big chunk of it was actually off how the RCMP counterterrorism ran their program. And then we added in those flavors. We were fortunate at the time when JTF2 was being sparked up, Delta, SEALs, the SAS, the Rangers, the Green Berets, all of these guys have been running for a long time. And we had our own, we had the Airborne.
Yeah.
So, and those were our allies. So we were able to draw lots from that too, which really helps the old learning curve, when you don't have to start from zero. And especially for integration later on as we work together.
Yeah, the continuity's there, because if you're drawn from everybody else, you give shit to everybody else, but every one of us has something that we pull from each other. And then when you go in together, there's already continuity built in, because you're kind of already doing the same things. But you're right, like you said, you just tweaked a little bit here or there. But it really is the end state's the same. And the thing that's the beautiful out of all of us, that stays the same, is the intestinal fortitude that's still there. That guy there, he's going to go through hell. He may do it a little differently, but if he's going to keep charging through, whether he gets hurt or not, and he's going to be right there. And we're going to clear the rooms. We're going to do everything we need to do. And he's not going to give up. That's what I think we all pull from each other. But I'd say that the Canadian guys can, well, at least can drink us under the table. I'll say that you guys have that on us. Holy shit. And still get up in the morning and still go to PT. I was like, no, I ain't getting up tomorrow, guys. I'm going to sleep in a couple hours.
Yeah. It also, I have some interesting things that I noticed, that I don't know at the strat level if they talk about this, but it spreads some of the burden of learning too, like where, example, long range shooting, just the way our constructs where we were able to really run with that and help pull it in a certain direction. And then, Americans in a certain direction, then we share that. And it's like just force multiplying left, right, and center.
Wow.
With that.
Yeah, if we could get into that actually, because that kind of gets into the next topic I wanted to ask about is people are probably wondering what it was JTF2 and Canada, large Canada Special Ops, what was their involvement really in the global war on terror as opposed to because people know what the SEALs did in the Army Rangers. What specifically could you point to for people wondering that?
Because you guys are right there. I mean, you guys were involved, just was a lot of times attached to the units, and you didn't get the credit that I thought. I mean, and granted, it's a secret. You're not looking for the credit, but I think that the CanSoft guys deserve a hell of a lot of credit because right smack in the middle of all that stuff that was going on.
Yeah, I'm going to dance between what I, once again, think I can say, I should say, and I have no clue about. So I would say as a start, yes, and we'll call 9/11, I guess, kind of the official beginning of the war on terror. I don't know if it had a start date. Obviously terror was being fought before that.
Way before, yeah.
We'll kind of look at that as our X to move forward right away. Yeah, with K-Bar and stuff like that. As soon as the troops went to Afghanistan, we were there.
Yeah,
and evolved quickly because of it. Like that was, I've heard the term, battle lab many times, where it just, for the SF, it was a great place to learn and develop. And then all the way through, even up to, ISIS, we were right there with the Kurds. We were the first ones to lose someone. We were the first ones to start on the shooting lines. And it was, for people like me, Canadians who were soldiers, still have soldier heart, or however they say it. World War I, World War II, the Korean War. Many Canadians went and fought in Vietnam. They just went and became Americans and went and fought. And there was money being filtered and stuff, so the government had its own thing, but Canadians were there. Yep. Even the first Gulf War, there was units sent. The second Gulf War, there was money, and I believe there was a naval contingency. The military wanted to go, but the government didn't see it fit right away until it kind of unfolded into going to fight Al-Qaeda and Taliban and those folks. And and then it was all the way there. I've been out for a while, so I don't know where it's ended, where it's at. And I don't really stay all that up and informed, unfortunately. So I couldn't tell you where it's at, but it's a busy unit, and always trying to get our hands in the pot,
I always want to get everybody always wants to get a little action in, but that's a good thing. And as tier 1 units, if you don't have that mentality, then why are you a tier 1 unit? Yeah, if you just want to be on the sideline the whole time, well, then why are you even doing it? I just always had admiration, and that's a great question because because I think that they deserve, and the CanSoft groups deserve a lot more kudos than what they got. But the bottom line is that they did a great job, regardless whether people talk about it or not. And I loved hanging with the guys. You guys were always so upbeat. Just the night, it was just a very positive environment, always, and the jackassery overflowed. But that says a lot. It says a lot about this is, and a dry sense of humor. Something tells me you probably have a little bit of a dry sense of humor. I don't know what that is. Maybe it's your face. But it's great to hear all that. Once you were done, when you got out, what made you want to get out? Because I want to know this. Once you stay in and you're in for a long time, it's hard to break away. But once you did you have a plan of action? What am I going to do when I get out? This is the route I want to go. Or did you kind of just play it by ear and figure it out along the way? And we're going to get into the stuff you're doing now, because that's amazing, brother.
For sure.
Really.
Some of this, Ian, you may have already heard.
Oh, for sure. But it's a new audience. Like, I think they'd love to hear, because what you're doing now is pretty cool.
And honestly, I want to hear it. Every question that I ask, I want to hear. I want to know. To me, it's motivating. I love. So sorry if I'm making you repeat yourself around Ian. I don't ever.
No, I'm not. I think it's a great chance to touch on a few things too. Like you said, the military has been around for thousands of years, making soldiers. And if that's the product you're looking for, that's great. They got really great systems, right? Nowadays, we got science back, and we got all the psychology, all the tools. So once a soldier, especially the higher they climb the echelon, people don't realize how deep you're in there. Yeah. Like you're a program. I don't want to say machine, but you're pretty programmed, right? So then when you're like, okay, well, how do I get out of here? And you're like, okay, let me see what tools I can do. Okay, I can shoot really far. I can run really fast. I can carry big loads. I can think of my, and you're trying to be like, maybe I'll work here. No, that doesn't fit. So but that's a difficult thing, because I just want to take a chance and mention, because a lot of soldiers.
No, this is perfect, because we have
difficulty transitioning. Right?
Yes, that's what I'm hoping we're getting into. That's what I want to hear, because it helps me, because I still have my days too. Like, okay, how do I get through? What do I need to do now? What can I do? Am I fitting in? That's always a question I had. So this is great. No, continue. We want our guys to hear, because people need to hear it, and they ask questions about this all the time, and they don't need to keep hearing my answer. They need other guys that have been in the community's answers, because there's always different ways to skin a cat. And this is probably helping somebody right now. When we air it on Monday, it's going to help somebody. Yeah.
So for me, it was kind of, sometimes life hits you pretty hard. For me, it was meeting my wife. Like, really, it completely jarred me in a good way. And it like gave me that face slap of like, oh, okay. And it just, falling in love actually reduces threat response. And it makes you a little more optimistic. So you're like, yeah, I can get out of here and I can do this, and everything's cool,
Yeah.
About 15 years I just spent developing myself as this, But that brought up the question of like, okay, what am I going to do? What am I going to move into? How do I take my new attributes and, all my knowledge that I do have, and make it applicable once I'm out? Especially, it wasn't until very recently, now we're working on a long range shooting series, that I was like, I don't want to do military stuff really, per se. I don't want to go be a shooting coach. I don't want to work for the government. I don't want to be a contractor. Nothing against that. I just was like, that's not where I wanted to go. I wanted to, I was pretty 180 and pretty hard at the time. So it took some sitting down, some thinking. I went through what we call the soft reserves. So, I was full-time, and then I spent a little bit of time in the soft reserves, where I got to keep my beak wet. I was teaching hey-ho, halo. I was teaching shooting and stuff like that. So I was still in there. I was still working with the new guys coming up, and I wasn't deployable at the time. But it helped me transition as I was thinking about, what do I want to do for my pivot in life. And then Jess and I started coming up with the special forces experience, and it just has evolved in many different ways since then. I'm glad it's found a lot more heart than I would have ever foreseen at the start. But it's also been pretty amazing, the response I get, because it's loaded with adversity and fear and struggle, all those things that people sometimes tend to avoid.
Yeah. And
the way that's being received has been really amazing. So I'd say that's kind of how it started. Obviously, a million nuts and bolts in between there. I would say for guys and gals looking to get out, before you do, just consider that move, that transition, because like your mind literally starts to change, right? Like we're a product of our environment. And when you come out, it's going to start to be different. The civilian world's different. Lots of great people out there, but they function differently than the military. That's why it's the military. And in that, like you mentioned earlier about sense of humor and the power of irreverence. Most people don't joke like that at the water cooler. They don't. That doesn't need, whatever that is happening psychologically. That doesn't usually happen there, or at least not in what I would call a healthy way in the military. Using it there was healthy, right? When everything is like, bombs and bad guys, and oh man, am I going to step on an IED today? A little irreverence goes a long way. And So anyways, yeah, moving in there will be some surprises. It's really nice right now. But there is a ton of support, a ton of people who've found that way out, because as a whole, I think we did we've expanded our knowledge, but it's gotten better and better and better and better, for the Vietnam guys coming out with almost probably zero support, maybe other than their family. And if they were not even like a humility, but just tapped in enough to know, oh, fuck, I need a little help here. I need a little nudge to the left or right, because it's not a weak spot. It's just, I don't have the tools, the words to move that way yet, and even if nothing's shambling in the PTSD realms, it just a little transition goes a long way. And so think about that, right? The environment you got, the people you can tap into that are good for you and want the best for you.
Well, I think just what you said, the humility part of it is the Vietnam guys. Again, hard as nails, those guys. And welcome home to all you Vietnam guys out there. I know a lot of you didn't get it, but it wasn't acceptable to show the weakness. Where nowadays, and that's where we've progressed to, where it's okay to say, "Hey, I need a little help." It wasn't okay, and I shouldn't say weakness. I don't want to use that as a bad term at all. It wasn't okay to ask for help. There was. I'm an Army guy. I'm an airborne. I'm SF. I'm alert, but I don't ask for help. I can handle this. Where this is a good thing. Now we've gone to the spot where it is okay to ask for a little bit of help. And by you saying that, what you just said and what I've said over time, and other guys have said, that we've all asked for help at some point from our wives, family, outside, that I think has gone a long way. And you just reaffirmed that as well, which is fantastic, because tough guys need help too to transition, and that's how we become successful. And that's why you have your special forces experience. That's why you get Leo Jenkins writing books. That's why they've gone other routes in a positive way.
And I want to, if it's okay, I want to kind of go backwards a little bit to explain to the audience what exactly is the special forces experience, because there's probably civilians who are like, this is awesome, I want to do this, guys who probably didn't get a chance to join the military or just aren't headed that route but want a challenge.
Yeah, so thanks to you, Ian. The first time I met you, we've started to try to call it the SFE. Shorten it down.
Is that a hashtag?
I don't know how this is thanks to me. I have nothing to do with it.
Are we hashtagging it? I'll hashtag SFE. That's the hashtag.
So it started off as my wife's suggestion of making something for men, a man camp, if you will, axe throw and roasting s'mores and stuff, and talking deep. And at the time, like now looking back, I was like, I just wasn't paying attention in the right way, but I laughed. I was like, no, there's no way I'm doing something like that. That's, that's no. Anyways, when my wife, of course, persisted and helped me see, okay, well, let's put it together like this and like this and like this. And at the time, boot camp style things were around, other programs that were sparking up. And I was like, I don't really want to do that either. I want it to have a little bit more. I want people to discover things about themselves as they go, not just psychologically, but a little bit more esoterically, answer some of those bigger questions, have their values pressed, what's motivating me to move this way? Where do I want to move? Am I moving the right way? And it started to develop into this 8-day program. And once we had that I'll come back to it because it's really the meat and potatoes. We expanded on a little bit and we made it for people seeking some form of behavioral change. So we don't dictate what it is. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't say, hey, Ian, this is good for you, or hey, Chris, this is good for you. The idea is to help people bump up against things to find it. And with behavior, it takes a long time, right? They call them shadows and blind spots because we just don't see them, and to root them out. So 4 phases, takes about 6 months or so, start combing through their lives. All the way along, they're being tested on psychological attributes, personality stuff, all that kind of jazz. We got a big, thick pile of tests that we throw at them. Most of the time, they don't know what's being tested. That keeps it a little more raw and honest. And then they go to the 8 days where it's one big giant neuropsychological test where everything they go through is an experience, so they're doing lots of that military looking stuff for sure. but everything in it is a tool for us to see something about their behavior. And like I said, to put up walls, adversity, so that in order to overcome them, you got to grow. You probably haven't experienced something like this in your day-to-day life, and we're putting this up for you to overcome it. And in that, confidence is built. A whole bunch of those things. Ian, for those who decide the military is not a route for them, it definitely gives them a big old taste of that. Our right now, our kind of pass fail rate, if you will, is actually a little bit lower than even a tier 1 or 11 percenter. But that's because we talked earlier about hardening up your body for a few years in the military and then going, where these are guys that are, accountants and business owners and entrepreneurs. And, lots of them all of them are fit to an extent, but there's a different kind of hardness, some kind of psychological thing that comes probably deep in the old limbic system that you need to go through this, and some guys do go through it, but it doesn't matter how many inches they make it in, they find something in themselves. And that's the whole idea, right? Travel the hardship to come out with a little bit of a new me and bring that into my new world. So it's good for my family, good for my community, good for myself.
So the courses are in Arizona now?
No. What we're doing, Ian, because of COVID, is I'm going to leave it just the term Sierra Nevadas, because that'll be the spring one. We had to start up an American company, and we're going to do one so that if the border closes, right now it is closed for Americans to travel to Canada. I haven't said it in a while, other than for essential service. And this unfortunately doesn't fall under essential service. We want to make sure that doesn't happen again. We asked our Serial 2 guys to hold off. So we created this up. So there'll be 2 of them. It's not in Arizona.
Because looking at the videos, I'm like, this looks like guys going through the freezing cold. It doesn't look like the heat.
Yeah, and so that's why it'll be somewhere in the Sierras to keep that trend of chilliness going.
Well, it's great. Being cold is a fantastic multiplier of a suck factor multiplier. I went through Ranger School in the wintertime, and I would have much preferred to have gone in the summertime, because I've always told people my shit doesn't hurt in the heat. I can drink water, and that cold factor with a little bit of sleet in there, a little bit of rain in there. Now it's muddy and cold. Now it really does make you dig deep. It makes that minimal mile thing that you had to do, whether it's a mile ruck, anything, crawling a little bit, obstacle course, 100 meters, it makes it that much worse. So that's perfect. I mean, I saw that too. I was like, yep, it's awesome. I know he's doing it right, because those guys are muddy and it looks colder than shit out there. Yeah, they're learning something about themselves, at the very least, how much your fingers can hurt in the cold. And that's awesome. And Sierra Nevada is beautiful. I want to ask where it's at. If it's, because I want the program to, part of learning about yourself is not knowing what's coming next. And that was part of SF, part of special operations. It was guys that would quit. It wasn't they couldn't handle it physically. And I know you probably saw the same thing. It was not knowing what was coming next, and they'd mind fuck themselves, mind screw them. They couldn't handle it. And
yeah,
I'm sure that's part of the course, where you're not telling them what's coming next. And so they worry, and then they anticipate, and that creates the stress levels to go up, and it could be the easiest thing coming, but they already screwed their heads up, but thinking it's going to be the worst thing coming.
Yeah. So I'll just touch, you mentioned the cold, all those base needs, physiological needs, we stress those, that's what you can stress really easy. It's kind of the easier button to do, right? Put them in cold, physically stress them, caloric intake, water, that kind of stuff. But then there's I think that's a big old neocortex thing, where the human being really wants control.
Yeah.
They want to line things up in a nice linear way. And they're like, okay, I'm here. I'm going to do this, 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 and this.
Yep.
And when you step into the unknown, outside of your comfort zone, and in our case, we make sure they're doing things that they don't normally do.
Okay.
And if it looks kind of like something they might do, we have little fun twists and turns for them to make it so it's not something they're normally doing, so that it's all new, right? And then, but the interesting thing about the unknown, those fear factors that put up that wall, usually, I don't even know if there's a stat or something, but most of the time it's pretty safe,
Yep.
and it's all in our head. We run our anxiety up. We're like, I can't do that. I don't want to do that. But then they're in it. They flow through it and they come out and they're like, oh, okay, one level up. And that's kind of the term we use is post-traumatic growth.
I've seen that. Mm-hmm.
Cycling through the underworld of the hero's journey, coming out with some kind of new skill, tool, elixir, whatever it is. And what we're trying to do is observe them to give them some feedback and tailor their experience for the individual a bit. We're giving them the experience itself. So even if they just show up, learn nothing, don't move an inch, they're never going to forget that time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Then we try to put some skill in there, working with weapons, working out of their pack, a lot of little things like that, survival stuff. It takes a long time to build real skills, but at least give them a little bit, map and compass kind of stuff and all that. And then keep it in pressure, because it's one thing to work on your couch,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I got this bearing, no problem. But then when you're cold, wet, tired, you haven't eaten, and the world's COVID crumbling around you, it can be a little bit like, oh, okay, how do I run this compass again? So it's good to put those stress factors in, I think, in a healthy way.
No, it is.
Yeah, I was going to say the thing that you said in that same video about post-traumatic growth, about people not being able to handle stress, that totally resonated with me. I mean, I remember reading a quote from Arnold Schwarzenegger about how he said that people who don't get, that physical stress in their life in some way, and for him it was the gym, or people have different things, they're very easily irritated. So someone cuts them off in traffic and they're like furious, and he's like, I'm able to keep calm because you get that stress out in some way. And I think what you were saying is kind of similar to that. You put these guys through some extreme amount of stress, and then in their real world everything is kind of a breeze when they get to go back to their accounting job, as you said, or whatever they're doing in the real world.
Yeah, I just did a talk, and I'll send you a link for it, Ian, to put up with this, called The Art of Adversity. And a big part of it, just so that we're speaking the same language, is vulnerability, being able to bring that out, emote, express, talk, interchange ideas so we can adapt that into our reality. And I get into it in that quite a bit. But I do believe if you don't come up against those walls, and look at Arnold, like him or hate him, he was a champ, a governor. He as whatever his name is, I think Bill Burr says, he was a great.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. And I know Tonto loves Bill Burr, right? Bill Burr. He's like, I work out, no one gives a shit. And then what did he say? He's like, the guy can barely speak the language, becomes an actor, cherry on top. Now he's a Kennedy.
I love that bit. Bill Burr's awesome. Yeah.
And he's right. You got to stress your body. You got to stress your mind, but you can do it in a healthy way. And then it can help, and I talk about it a little bit more in The Art of Adversity, stave off the other side of it, which is post-traumatic stress or post-traumatic stress disorders. Those are very insidious, and just a few things for guys who might be dealing with it. One, it's a term that's kind of overlaid on a lot of issues. I think we're starting to learn that a little bit more. But training tips, like a soldier, like a high-end SF soldier, they're alert, they're used to functioning without sleep. All the things that lead to not cycling and potentially going into that stress disorder are already there. And then you take them out. So it works really good when you're in a combat zone. But if you put it in at the daycare, it's not the best place for it. So it's not necessarily a wounding, but it takes time to undo those habits, And then there's also blast injuries that can affect the brain, and then the brain comes back and has behaviors. And that was one thing that's been really nice about working with the SFE. I've been deep diving and researching the brain and behavior and the environment a lot. And I started to notice that, we overlay this term and it's got so many other facets, and just get that first step of like, oh yeah, I might have it, is very difficult, because it could imply that there's weakness, because that cycle, the training scars, everything else we've done over here is telling me not to let that in. Right. And it's just, think of it more like a behavioral adaptation. Of course, like literal physical damage can form in your brain just from the behavior. It doesn't even have to be from a TBI. Mm-hmm. And, doctors have stuff to start working through that. So that way there, it's a pretty exciting time. What I'm talking about is, what do we do before we go on a mission generally? Well, we went through years of boot camp, airborne training, SF training. I don't know how many times, preparing for missions, preparing for ops, training your body, doing all this stuff in order for when the real deal happens, hopefully it goes way smoother. Hopefully you don't stress out as much. Obviously your first time going into combat, you're going to feel some stress.
Yeah, sure.
And also I think that's kind of part of the fun of it too, chasing that dragon, if you will. But we do that. We cycle through a growth cycle so that when things happen that we don't expect, don't account for, we're a little bit better at cycling those emotions out, metabolizing cortisol, those kinds of things. If we don't do that, then bad things happen, disaster, whatever. People start to feel that pressure a lot more. I'll refer to it again. I take no stance just so people listen. I think when COVID first hit, a lot of people went into panic mode. You could tell they were going into panic mode. Like, we never had a shortage of toilet paper before. You're obviously panicking. And that is not going to get you through this. You're a victim to your fear right now. And it's not a weakness. It's not finger pointing. It's just, that's what happens when the unknown hits you and you haven't practiced stepping into it.
Yeah. No, I agree. And by you teaching and getting people into that unknown, it does it. You've said it, and I'm just agreeing with you, the level that you're into next. Now when something in the unknown happens, you can handle it better. And then when something else happens, the next unknown happens that maybe is a little bit more stressful. You have at least a building block, which is what you're giving this civilians coming through to address that next level of stress, to overcome that. And it's hard to as special operations guys to teach that all the way to civilians, because we're forced. I mean, honestly, we're forced that. If we want to be that, we've got to go those next levels over and over, or we get, like you said, you just keep getting chopped down, sharpening of the knife. But by at least bringing it out to the civilians and how you do it in those 8 days, when people, I guarantee I could talk to them that they've changed. I'd love to interview one at the beginning, which maybe you do this. And then at the end, just even look in their eyes and see how much more confident, and also how much more the world has probably opened up to them, where they can experience more because they're used, they know, oh man, I can handle a little bit of adversity. And the post-traumatic growth, brother, I'm stealing that from my talks when I go speak. So you get credit for it, but I'm going to steal that because that is post-traumatic stress should always, honestly, to me, when I heard that from you, it should always be called post-traumatic growth, because you have given the opportunity through that stress to grow, to become somebody stronger, better, more knowledgeable, obviously. And it's a positive statement, where the post-traumatic stress, right, as that overlay, I think sometimes used as a derogatory statement by civilians towards military, and even some in the military towards others in the military, where it shouldn't be.
Or first responders and stuff. I think that if gold presents a coin, it should present both sides, and because it's not just doom and gloom, you know what I mean?
No, it isn't.
People have this and pull it back in, and it's I'm not saying it's not an issue, but it's like, well, hey, if we use this word a little bit more, this term a little bit more, it's from actually a couple Americans, Tedeschi and Calhoun.
Oh, so I got to give them credit? I'm giving you credit. I don't know them.
I would like to think we're the first ones what we say is intentionally facilitating post-traumatic growth, where you intentionally do it. These guys, it's so nice to see they just appreciate it, and they're like, okay, I don't know exactly what I'm looking for here, but this sounds like it's resonating, and it just helps when someone puts those terms out there a little bit better.
I agree. I'll stand
it.
Yeah,
I think it is a great term that more people need to use, for sure. You know what I was wondering on a personal level? What's it like going from, we were talking about this before we recorded, but cold ass Canada to now living in Arizona, which is a lot more laid back. But as you said, you're outside of the city, and I mean, I love it when I go out there.
Yeah, so we're time splitting. I have to clear that up. So, because I'm not an American citizen or a permanent resident, I'm always visiting.
Got you.
I'm always, just in case they're listening. All right. So, what it is, my business is back in Canada right now, so I have to go back anyways. This is the way we're making it work. But I found that I spend my winters down here avoiding that cold a lot more than I used to. And as far as Arizona goes, I love it. Like, I have my X3 side by side, and I just pull out, and it's like a couple 100 feet to the desert, and it's just open, just go ripping. And Jess brings out her guns, and The state land is right there. It's so that way there. It's really great. I like the desert. Like we were in Sedona before we were here.
Oh, wow.
In Northern Buckeye, and we loved it. Beautiful, right? It's a very diverse state. I didn't expect it to be, mountainous, canyon lands, desert, giant ponderosa pine forest. So that way there, it's been awesome. And a little secret that a lot of people don't know about Jess and I, we like doing rock hounding. So going out and finding gems and stones and stuff in Arizona just happens to have like a ton of that everywhere. So that's been a real plus.
Is that up in the Flagstaff area, up in that northern Arizona corner? Is that where you find them at, or is there other? I didn't know
pretty
that.
Much all over the whole state. There's different things in different areas, and that's part of the fun. It gets us out of the house. We go get our hands dirty, that kind of stuff.
Oh, Dad, Arizona is beautiful. Yeah, people don't realize how much in that northern. I actually got recruited to play football there out of high school and went to visit, and I didn't know Flagstaff. I'm like, this isn't Arizona. This is Colorado. It's beautiful up there, and you get more snow there, and it stays longer than you do in the states that get the snow. But you're right, man. Arizona is just gorgeous, and as we get older, I'm the same. I don't want to deal with the cold anymore. I hate the cold, and my bones don't like the cold anymore. I'm typical getting older kind of guy. I want the heat. I want the warmth, and there's nothing wrong with that. Are you thinking maybe about doing and hot weather you got to be careful because of what's the word I'm looking for? Dehydration. Thank you. I'm not a smart man. But are you thinking about doing something like that down the road where you've got the cold weather stuff? Because you can, the suck can suck too in the hot weather. You just got to be a little bit more careful and watch them because of dehydration. But it'd be something that you got a cold weather one, got to have a hot weather one too. And being in Arizona, you have the area down there, and I know it can be pretty hard. You have some hard areas to train in. Where not hard as in they're difficult for you to train, but they can increase that suck factor immensely.
Yeah, big time. I was out rock hounding. It was literally 117 degrees, and we weren't carrying much weight or anything. And I was so shocked at how that heat can just
zap
back to the car, and I was like, oh boy, I didn't expect that. But on that, we do toy around the idea of putting it in different places in the world. That would be awesome.
That would be awesome. Yeah.
There's logistical stuff, but people from other countries are showing enough interest that it just could be something like that. Like what we're looking at is like maybe there's an Australian soldier, perhaps, retiree who might want to do something like this, not make it franchisable. It's nothing like that. It's not a mass producing, but I think if the experience is it's so well received here in Canada and the US, why wouldn't it be well received somewhere else? It has been designed mostly for men. Only men come out to the process specifically, but
it's not set up that way, right? Women can come out. It's not.
No, the process is just for men.
Okay.
It's not.
But it makes sense. It's almost because I think you sort of spoke about it before. It's almost like a men's retreat, and how you've talked about it before, how like manliness in this day and age of political correctness, it's like looked down upon, and you're doing something that's like an extreme man adventure for civilians.
Yeah, I think a lot of guys get some, I'll use a Freudian term like catharsis or catharsism from it, where we have these tools. Like I have aggression, as much as I, manage it and regulate it, I have aggression, I have anger. I just have these traits that a lot of people can sometimes get demonized, right? Where we have these tools and they've served mankind, womankind very well up until this point. And it's a good place for guys to come out and use it because you don't get to express them in a healthy way too often, kicking it day to day in City Street, along with other ones. There's also some different elements to it. I'm going to leave them as a surprise, for the guys that show up. I like to call it, the integrity of the program, but it's to keep as much unknown as possible, especially some of the other things that they see. It can be jarring. They're not expecting that, right? We show them one thing and then something else just might happen.
Just misdirection, dude. It's just David Copperfield shit. It's just
Yeah.
Do you get a lot of, and this sounds amazing for like corporations, like do you get full on corporate executives from a particular group that come together, or do you usually want to have different people? I mean, because we do get the corporations, you are getting somewhat of the same mentality from the same guys, because you're getting a group of people coming in, more like team building. Or is it more of, hey, come individually so you can learn to work with new people that you may not have worked with before?
So that could be some of the individuals' agendas. What we have, though, is we have another program called OPX, Operation X, and that's for the corporate side.
Okay.
That's either, a big company comes together, sends a bunch of people,
Yep.
and then what we do there is some similar through lines for sure. It's a 6-month program, and it's all designed to, we call it, my apologies for decoding and recoding behaviors. A lot of these consultation companies come in and they're like, here, this is what you need to do. Bolt this on. And when they forget to undo some things, especially in the culture realm, especially in the personality stuff that doesn't suit the employee. And like we're talking, is it the leadership strain? Is it the sales team? Because they all have different things, right? And then what we do is we put them through this long battery of physiological healing and growth and training based on HRV science that we also extrapolate over into the stress management realm, so that their leadership can see, Jim's looking a little bit stressed today. I wonder what's going on. Giving them tools to communicate it out where, like, Ian, you're showing you're a little bit on this side, which tends to be a stress factor for you. What's going on? Oh, it turns out, something at home with the cat or something like that. But in life, I joke a little, but there's a ton, right? And
yeah.
Hey, how you doing? And you're like, okay. It's like, we don't really get anything from that communication, right? If we dig a little deeper, we all have these things we're not struggling with, but we're managing and juggling, and gives the leadership a little bit more tools like that. But then the same concept of putting stress on their plate as well, so that they can manage it better, but also come off of it and know when it's like, okay, I gotta relax a little bit here. I can't always be in the pocket, or I'm gonna fatigue, I'm gonna burn out my adrenals and things like that. And then they go through a week-long intensive. You can think process just to like fill in the gap, because we just talked a little bit about the 8 days. But the months leading up, we're gathering all the data to see what the company and the individuals want, so that the values align more, where the company wants this, and usually you can start safely around profit, and stuff like that. So performance, which is okay. That's when you sign up and sign a contract to work with them, that's what they're there for. So how can we enhance performance? How can we bring those metrics up and inject new forms of capital and reward for the people, especially as we move online? A lot of companies have gone pretty much virtual, which puts a little more disconnect. So, okay, how do we continue this conversation? How do we motivate? How do we bring you online? So that's kind of where it finishes. Everything we learn about the individuals in the company along the way, all the things that we put them through. And then, like I said, the week long, we observe it all. And then we build up a selection for them, an HR hiring process, because one of the things companies are having an issue with is they bring in this new person, they put them through their HR tests and stuff like that job interview and a sit down. But that person, one, hasn't been cultured to a culture, because most companies don't even have a real culture. So we got to fix that problem. And then if you do try to fix a problem, if you're not bringing in the right people to align with that, you're just going to get a mess, and designed in a way where it's not like this static thing where it's like, if you don't meet X, that's it. Where we need people like this. Now we need this kind of person. We need this kind of person. And so that's been interesting. And that's the corporate side of what we're doing.
God, that should be the SFE hashtag SFE. We're starting it here. That should be the HR department of all companies. Yeah, seriously, that would be amazing. If somebody signs up to work at Bank of America, you got to go suck it up with Jeff down at the SF, because it really would. If they gave you, it sounds like that's kind of what you're doing already. Man, they gave you here's what we want. Here's what we want to see. Can you build a program for our hiring, and you guys take over the HR department, I think you probably have a lot less turnover in companies.
Well, I would like, I'm going to just like say, I bet you 5 years, I could get 5 years longer, because that's generally what happens. Just going through a more difficult hiring process will add longevity.
Yeah.
Having people who are a little bit more the right fit, if you will, that'll add longevity. But then you have all the stress burnout. Stress is like, I don't know the stats off the top of my head, but like it's a huge killer in companies, and it's a massive burden on HR and disabilities, things of that nature. And a lot of it is actually pretty easily preventable. And that's what I mean by people come in and they're just bolting on stuff. Yeah, do this. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, that feels good. And yeah, it could have potential to work, but we got some other things we got to undo before we just do.
Yeah. If you were to do the special forces experience in Arizona, as Chris was saying, another reason I think that would work is that just the gun laws, right? I mean, the gun laws would make it easier to do what you want to do.
Yeah. So interesting enough, we're doing a long range shooting series right now. It'll be about 9 or 10 episodes. We're right in the middle of it right now. I got my gun right behind me. It's forced me to start looking into the laws in the U.S. And as it turns out, like, you guys have a lot of state trust land across the state that you can use, and they're pretty flexible. In the shooting series, we're going to talk about responsibly using those things, just for consideration, because one of the reasons we're doing this is Jess wants to learn how to shoot, and two, I love shooting. It's one of my favorite things to do, and I would hate to see it be pushed away because of some level of ignorance or fear. Yeah. And I don't know. It's been a while since I've seen this, but in Canada there was a shooting, and then they went, and I can't remember if it's all AR style platforms. They just got rid of it totally. Okay. Now there's a lot of people going to be impacted, because a lot of people don't know Canadians have a lot of guns per capita. Canadians like to shoot too, and we got a lot of land to shoot it on. I'd hate to see it go away. One, because of ignorance, fear, and a little bit of irresponsibility. But like I was saying, just learning about that land, and Ian, there is a ton. Like, literally, another great thing about right here, a couple 100 feet away, we go and it's state land. So we just go about a mile away and blast away.
And at state land, we're good at that. Because one of the ranges we use in Kansas, it's state land, and but there's a gun range right on it, and that's the beauty of the United States. And that's I guess I didn't even think about that when Ian asked that question. How are you doing the shooting stuff in Canada? I know the gun laws are pretty, but you just answered that. So,
well, and if I may, just for the Canadians listening,
please.
One, we have a ton of crown land. Crown land's kind of similar to state land. Just if you want to picture it. But it's actually pretty open. We have what you can purchase is pretty strict, but where you can shoot, there's a lot of opportunity for that. And rightfully so. It's not right around the city where most people live, so they might think it's a bit limiting. But I mean, there's an entire giant country up there that has a lot of open land to shoot if you want to drive a little bit.
And I would assume a ton of hunting, as we know.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, and that's the other thing, Ian, about this. Like, people like to hunt. Some people hunt for sustenance. I'd hate to see it go away because of that disrespect for shooting in some form.
What is it? It's ignorance. It's political stances to get elected onto. Even if it's a lot of it, that's there's always going to be that political stance from one side, and it always is. And it's always from one side. That's the truth. That's not a partisan statement. But it's utilized for elections. Like
I said about the coin. Yeah. Present both. It's right now. I could hold my gun, and then someone's gonna be like, "Oh, that guy's a gun nut," and it's like, "Well, no, I'm not at all. It's complete opposite. I have the most respect for it, that you can." So
I'd say
we could chat about that, but
well, and believe me, we always will, because it'll always be on the docket somehow. But you're right with the shooting, and it helps. It's like going to the driving range if you like to golf, going to the range and shooting. It's that kind of that kind of stress relief. And I like going to shoot, and of course I still teach, and I enjoy teaching, and I enjoy shooting with the students there. And you see students come in and they smile and they're happy, and especially new ones to the guns that are saying, oh my God, this isn't an evil object. Oh my gosh, I'm having a little fun. My confidence level went up because I didn't think I could do this. And it's satisfying as an instructor to see that as well, man. And it makes me feel good, which it should. Guns just an object. And we've said it. I'm sure you've said it before too. And it's the person that holds it, and let's teach them how to respect it the right way and the safety of it, and where the pointy end of the bullet goes. Because I've had that one in my last class that put the bullets in the wrong. but that's the beauty of it. You just explain it to them, and then it just does little things like that. The confidence levels go up. Like, oh, okay, I learned something new. The experience, I got a new experience. It's fantastic.
The things that for the process that I use a gun for. You can backtrack it to cognitive traits. It's great. Like the gun in a lot of ways is, for some people, is almost an archetype of fear, if you will. You know what I mean? It's that powerful tool. And you can learn a lot there. You can put a lot of pressure on people with it. It's an amazing tool beyond just learning how to shoot. Yeah,
it is.
It's awesome, man. Well, people got to check out what you're doing. So it's the specialforcesexperience.com. Jeff is on Instagram at Jeff Depatie _, and to spell that out, it's Jeff, Jeff, DEP. I'm sorry, DEPATIE _. So at Jeff, DEPATIE _ and at Special Forces Experience on Instagram.
Hold on, do it again. I'm following him now. What is it? JEF what?
Jeff and then DEPATIE _
Thanks for doing that, Ian. I would have had more trouble with it.
Yeah, because when I saw your last name, you don't it's not pronounced the way that it looks.
No, it's a French name that's been kind of chopped up and moved.
Dude, look at your hair, man. In their ID pic, you almost look like a young Alice Cooper there, man. Check that out. Seriously. Okay, I just followed you. Oh, Sergeant Major. Yeah, we got some of the same followers. Gotcha. We're followed now. That's it.
Awesome, man. Is there anything that we didn't hit on? I mean, I think we got to a lot of different stuff here. We didn't get as much. I know you wanted to get in some Canada humor, Chris. We didn't really get into
we're good. Now this is excellent. I love the questions I ask, stuff that I want to learn from you, and the stuff that you're doing. A lot of that you talk about poaching. That's what we do, man. I mean, you poach. I mean, even the Rangers. Who do we learn from? We learn from the SAS. We took Darby, Colonel Darby took the stuff from the Brits, and if something's working, you're going to continue to work and use it no matter who started. Some of the stuff that you're doing, I'm going to pull into my Battleline classes, man. Just we're not doing 8 days or 6 month evaluations, but just some of the positive statements. And like I said, the post-traumatic growth. I love that. And whether you said it or not, the first time I heard it is when you said it. So you're getting credit for it. No, it's amazing, because that's why I think not just if it's beneficial to anybody out there, which I know it will be, your talk is beneficial to me because it helps me. How can I become a better instructor myself? All right, what's he doing? And it's excellent, man. So, keep doing great things. And I'd love to come. I love to come to one of your courses. I don't want to go through it because I'm a puss now. You guys, but I'd love to come back and be an OC for it, just to watch and be around that, because it makes me smile because it brings back memories when I see stuff like that. Like,
when is the next course? Like, if people are hearing this, they're ready to go. Is it just because of COVID you don't know, or?
Oh no! So what we're shooting for right now, Ian, is May 14th in the Sierras, and then October 15th back up in Canada. Nice. 2021 for both of them.
Nice.
All right. Excellent, man. Well, this was great.
Good job, brother. Keep doing great things.
Yeah, we'll be in touch. Okay.
Yep,
perfect.
Definitely.
Thanks,
Take
man.
care, Jeff.
See you guys. Thanks, Ian.
Anyway.
Thanks. There we go. Yeah, that was good, man.
No, he's good. I was going to say, when he says, it reminds me of Bill Lumberg from Office Space. Yeah. Yeah.
It almost reminds me, because I think of the Canadian accent, and it's slight, is Bret the Hitman Hart.
Bret the Hitman Hart.
With Bret the Hitman Hart. He also has the same delivery, how Bret Hart is very serious.
But there's that, they all, you either had the way goofy ones, which I had some of those, or you had the ones like that with that dry sense of humor where they would say something and it may even be directed at you, and you wouldn't even know that they were making fun of you till it's just like, it's like that car that goes by at 80 miles an hour, like, did that just happen? And you'd have to grab it. I said, were you making fun of me?
Would the way goofy one be Tom Green? Would he be
Tom Green? There you go. Oh, yes, the Tom Green.
I love Tom Green. Tom Green is apparently living in a van in like an RV now. He's traveling the country.
Dude, again, that was back when still with great comedy. That was they just don't have comedy like that anymore. Do you know Eric Andre, who's on Cartoon Network? He's got kind of a similar sense of humor. They got to bring that back though, because I remember I was watching a show on Richard Pryor and then Eddie Murphy as well, and I'm like, man, I grew up around some. I had Richard Pryor, in his later years, the Harlem, but he's still funny at after he burned himself, Yeah. So, but then I grew up with like guys like Eddie Murphy and Andrew Dice Clay. How blessed. Like, man, I got great people. I mean, granted, this generation has Bill Burr, which is similar to like an Eddie Murphy. But
I know I kind of introduced you to him, but I've been loving Tim Dillon. I love his stuff.
He reminds me of the new Larry the Cable Guy. And if you've listened to Larry the Cable Guy, if you listen to his uncensored stuff, Larry the Cable Guy is not all family-oriented cars mater. I mean, he got some pretty dirty stuff. And
yeah, I think people don't know that like Larry is a character. That's not him.
That's not him. Yeah, that's Larry. Larry is his real name because I can't even remember it. He lives in Lincoln too.
When I met him, he was a super nice guy. Really, really cool guy.
And now he's from what I understand, I'm not buddies with him or anything. But I had Eddie. What I love is my generation had Eddie Murphy. This generation has Trevor Noah. If that just tells you the great comedy and how far comedy had slipped. It was weird.
Before he did the Daily Show, believe it or not, this would surprise you. Wilkow was really into Trevor Noah's stand-up. And his stand-up wasn't bad. I wasn't that into it, but I think with the Daily Show, it's just gotten it's not what Jon Stewart was doing, man. I thought Jon Stewart found a way to be political, but also like he did make you laugh.
He did make you laugh. Really. Yeah, it's not. These comedy shows are not even. It's always something, and it's not funny political. It's not like the old Saturday Night Live where Dana Carvey would make fun of George Bush or you'd have who's the guy that played Bill Clinton. I mean, no matter what side you're on, it was still funny.
It's funny that I bring up Tim Dillon, though, because Tim Dillon has been talking about this same thing. And he's like, I really hope that we see a revival of like just silly Jim Carrey type comedy during these years. Because he's like, it can't get more serious than it is now.
I know.
He's like, like, do we go more serious than this? That's true.
Where does it go? Is it black and white? You can hear the Russian Stalingrad music when the comedy guy comes on of the people walking in file, listening to comedy shows, laughing all in unison. Ha ha ha, ha ha ha. Because it's you can't even. I think we talked about on the other show. Even Bill Burr, when he was hosting Saturday Night Live, a month ago or a few weeks ago, I didn't watch it, but I saw something came up where he was chastised for being homophobic. I'm like, holy shit! Again, it's Bill Burr. What did you? He was coming on the show. You asked him to come on Saturday Night Live. Now you're going to chastise him for being Bill Burr on Saturday. So you're right. Where's it going? But that's again where I feel so blessed that I grew up around. Can you imagine Eddie Murphy doing Raw nowadays?
I will push back a little because there still is like that last Dave Chappelle special. I think Dave really went pretty far. He talked about all different things. And I think it's because he has that, I'm going to use the term, he has that fuck you money. Yeah. He doesn't need to like bow down to these corporations that are going to say, you can say this, you can't say this. Like, he's fine. So
that's what it was. I got to remember it. I'll remember it again. But Dave Chappelle, he's still a past generation. He's the 90s generation kind of comic, man. So
Tim Dillon, man, I think more people need to check out Tim Dillon. They
need to check out Tim Dillon. He's hilarious.
The podcast is great. And he truly, because the thing about him, man, is he'll talk about QAnon and stuff, but he does it in a very funny way.
That's comedy. That's talent.
He's very political, but it's not serious political. But the stuff he says is true.
Did you see the one that he did? It was on Instagram. I saw the post. I didn't follow him. We're doing the ballot counting with the Coke. But you're laughing at it, and you're laughing at it, going, "Gosh, that's so true. That is so true." Because he was like spot on. Like, man, whether The election, I do believe it was. Who gives all elections in some aspect. This one, yes, it was. There's shenanigans going on all over the place on it, but the way he did it was still hilarious. How he the pile of coke.
For sure. But people are, because he's like blowing up. I feel like during this pandemic, he's become a big name, which is cool because I remember him as like a smaller New York comedian.
He'll come through Nebraska. He's Nebraska kind of humor too. He'll come back.
Yeah, he did. He did come through recently. But he did say a lot, and I hear a lot of comedians saying this, he's going to be doing less stand-up and more podcasting. And I get it. I just think that's what it's kind of calling for right now. But you know what? We were saying political stuff. I know we don't talk politics much in here, but I did want to. I know people are going to want to hear your take on it. So, I mean, I have to mention it, of course. The Biden appointing Susan Rice to White House Domestic Policy Council. I don't think it's surprising, but people, I'm sure, want to hear your take.
No, Jesus, has he even been really fully sworn in for president? I'm just going to throw that shit out there because I got to start some shit somewhere. Like, really, is he even president yet? I didn't.
Yeah, we got a month.
But anyway, no, we're right back to, hey guys, if America, if this is what you want with the shenanigans and the corrupt, helping the corrupt out, that's politics for you. I guess that's what we want again. So here we go. And no, she's unethical. She's a liar. She has no integrity. Going on national TV and just lying your ass off knowing that it's a lie. Your mom knew it was a lie. You even wrote in your book that your mom told you were being used and you didn't listen to your mom. So kids out there, always listen to your mom, even if you're a politician. Your mom knows best. And still out there, was running her sucked for the longest time until myself and Tig and Oz started to call them all out and say, hey, you're bullshit. And Biden was a big part of that too. I think people forget that Biden was VP at the time. He was integral in the cover up and it was part of the troops not being sent. Don't think that he wasn't. Them helping each other out, even though they're probably two of the most unethical, corrupt people in America, if not the world, and they are. That's politics, man. What can we do, Ian? That's what we get from politics, and this is what we get if he is actually crowned as president. Well, we're just right back to where we were. That's what we've always done. We've always done with politics. Is politics politicians being unethical and helping each other out because of the buddy network, and it doesn't matter how terrible they are. And even if they did their job well, which I don't think she even did her job very well. Aside from just doing what she was told to help out the administration, whether it was right or wrong. That's it. So, hey, that's what we got, guys. America, that's what you want. I guess this is what we enjoy in our politics. And it's a story. And we always want stories out of our politicians and politics too. Sorry, brother. I know you had something to say there.
No. I mean, I wanted to let you, because you're who people want to hear react on that, not me. So I was just going to say, I expected her to get some type of position. I guess maybe this is me spinning a positive, but like she didn't, her name was being floated as VP.
Yeah.
She didn't get VP, which I guess is a positive. Not that I'm a Kamala Harris fan, but I would probably choose Kamala. I would definitely choose Kamala Harris over Susan Rice. And also what she's being appointed to be honest, I really don't even know what the position is with White House Domestic Policy Council, but that could also be my ignorance. I don't, to me, this just sounds like kind of
what is it? It's here's a position for you. Hey, you helped us out. You helped out the old administration.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess I'm glad she's not in like a major position of power.
Hey, and brother, when you're with me in politics, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. In my opinion, that's what I saw in politics when I was working with the government and in the Army and with the agency. Is that's why we have the issue with this election. That's why we don't trust politicians. It's because we're never going to, because there isn't any integrity. They're just going to keep helping each other out and covering each other's backs. And no matter what they do out there, even if it's the most egregious act in the world, and most of us would either be thrown in jail from it for violating national security or severely, just severely ostracized in by just the moral code of what we used to have in this country anyway. Doesn't matter. They're just going to keep helping each other out. So that's why we don't talk too much about politics on the show because it's old news. It really is. It's the same shit over and over and over. I think that's why a lot of people did like Trump, at least, and elected him when his presidential and voted for him this time, is because you really knew what you're getting. I mean, yeah, piggish comments, very not well spoken, but it was like, man, it's something different. At least we know where we stand. Where before that, or his cards were on the table, whether you liked him or not, they were there. And there's a lot of things about him I didn't like, but you knew what you didn't like. You knew what you like. Where politics, everything before that, politics behind the scenes, it's just a house of cards. It's just bad things and bad people helping each other out to stay in positions and to still be part of the United States government, because you know what? You helped me out down the line. So guess what? I'm going to give you a position here, because even though it was an effed up thing you did by lying and by helping facilitate this stupid cover up about Benghazi, you did me a solid. So here's a slot for you. But that's politics, man. That's politics and politicians. And that's what we enjoy. And it's news. And here we are, you and I are talking about it now. We very rarely talk about politics, but
but I mean, if the name Susan Rice is brought up, or the name Hillary Clinton, we have an obligation to comment.
Thanks,
on it.
bro. No, but that's all. No, you're good. But,
thanks for bringing this up. No, but I feel like, I know people are going to want to hear your take on it.
But this is the only place.
I don't even know what position it is.
Yeah,
I think I would have been maybe more outraged if she got the VP slot,
or like got Secretary of State or something.
Exactly.
But that's the beauty of this show too. And again, for anybody that wants to know my opinion, you ain't gonna get it anywhere else but here. I'm not going on the news. I don't give a shit. Nope, not doing it. This is where you're gonna hear it. But this is the beauty of the show too, and what you can see, and you help me through it. And you're like, yeah, you say that, I'm like, well, yeah, you're right. It's a half full, half empty, half full kind of thing. You see it as half full. I just see politics we're back to just being politics and politicians again. Doesn't matter.
I mean, I'm gonna, the same way I think with every administration. I think I used to be a little bit more. I'm definitely not a hyper partisan person by any means. So I'm just going to call it as I see it. I am sure Biden will do some things that I'll agree with. I think there's certain things that he's already proposed that I'm going to be more in line with than I was with Trump. And there's going to be things like this where I'm going to say that's a terrible appointment, So I just going to try to hold these people accountable, but I don't have any more power than anyone else. So it's not worth getting completely wrapped up in. But I am hoping for the best for the country. At this point, he's going to be the next president. I'm not. I know there's people who are hoping there's going to be some giant surprise, and there's not going to be. He's going to be the next president, and we're going to have to, hope for the best on certain things. And I mean, I have no dog in this fight because I didn't vote for either of these people. I voted third party.
Well, and that's where guys who be like me. It's if you can, don't be like me. Don't be like me. Don't be like me. But with this, I have my opinion. She's a scumbag.
Yeah,
he's a scumbag. And that is personal. I hate when people, you're conservative, you're Republican. It's because of what happened to me and my family and the families of my teammates and my teammates. They both are scumbags. They both are unethical, and they're both helping each other out, or he's helping her out because she did that administration a solid, and that's it right there. And I'm the same as Ian. As much as I dislike Biden, I really do. I don't care for him. I don't think he has an ounce of integrity in his body. If he does things to make this country strong and great, then hey, fine. Because I want this country to do well. I don't care who's in office. I want the country to do well. I am not and I know you're not either. I'm not let's hope there's a civil war. Or let's, I had a lot of the liberals when Trump was elected. I hope this fails. I hope the economy fails. And guys, you were doing it. Don't even say that you weren't. You were. Who thinks like that? No. Okay, he was elected. So what? And this thing is, if Hillary would have got elected with Trump, I would have. Oh fuck yeah, I would have been pissed. But again, Charlie Mike, what do I got to do for my life to make my life and my family's life better? And what can I do to still help this country grow? And that's the mindset people have to have. Whether you like the candidate or not, they're politicians down to the bone anyway. So just live, man, and see things like you do as half full. And as soon as we get off this, brother, I'll forget about it, because you're right. I don't care. I got a course I got to teach. I'm going to vacationing here to Disney. That's my focus. I got to go smile
in a couple weeks, right? Because we got one more.
Yeah. We got one more
with your friend Scott Guerin.
Scotty's, dude, that's another amazing guy.
He'll be great.
For PJ, I mean, who dies on the drop zone, sees the light, and then comes back, and then becomes a PJ again. This is amazing. But guys, bro, I appreciate you, because it does. It helps me vent, but it also, this is it. It's over. Who gives a shit? Stupid. Honestly, it's a stupid appointment. He'll do more stupid things down the line. He may do some good things down the line too. Who knows? But this is again. Hey, it was. Hey, you did us a solid. Here's some payback for you, and that's politics, man. That's how the House of Cards works.
So anything else planned for you this weekend?
No.
I know that we're going to be having this up on Monday, but
we down, if you get a chance, you're in Omaha, go down, and since I am still in Omaha, go down to the Durham Museum. There's trees up, they have the flag up. I'll shoot a picture actually for Christmas. I got a great picture that I'll post during Christmas, but wonderful place, just as festivities. The Santa's there, and they're doing it in a way where it's like, where you have the stand, being safe. No, we down there yesterday, bro. It was so much fun. I love Christmas time. My 5-year-old seeing Santa, asking for Legos. It's like, what do you want? Legos. And his just watching children around Santa again reminds me when I was around Santa. And I do believe in Santa Claus. I always will. I believe in the Easter Bunny. I believe in all that, because the spirit is always there. And for the kids, or if you get a bad Santa that makes you cry because you want a Nerf gun and he tells you no, which was terrible. Yeah, that's not a Santa, guys. The spirit of Christmas is alive and well, and I think that showed by you catching it and post. I mean, that was awesome, man. You were like first one.
Well, it went viral because I saw it from Dana Lash, and Dana Lash has a far bigger following than I.
And I spoke with the family. I called the mom, and we spoke.
Oh wow!
No, she did. Yeah. No, I called her. And
dude, you got to tell it. We have to wrap up with that.
Okay,
how did that go?
We have a hound dog that works for. I have a little company now with Battleline and KPI and merch. But a friend of mine, Jeremy Mitchell, who also basically runs everything. The dude is a hound dog. He's a former Army MP. And I said, hey, can you track this lady down for me? Maybe I can give the family a call and wish them Merry Christmas. And no shit, after you gave me the video and I posted it and I hit up Jeremy, hey, can you find this lady? He found her like in 30 seconds. He's like, here's a text, here's that. And I was like, okay. And I called her, and it was awesome. And it was, the talk with her, and it was, I just wanted to offer not just my condolences, but wish him a Merry Christmas. Cause I have a 5-year-old. And if that Santa did that to my 5-year-old, I would have I'm not, that's not a threat. It would have been a boot in your ass, sort of. Cause you just don't do that. I don't care if you're asking for an Obama suit for Christmas as a Santa. That's what you want, son. Because that's Christmas. That's the spirit of Christmas. That's the giving. But I talked to the mom. She was such a sweetheart. But I remember asking her,
was she aware of you? And
her husband is actually a law enforcement officer.
Oh, nice.
And so when Jeremy reached out to her, and I got the text back, and he showed me the screen, she goes, yeah, we know who Tano is. We follow him, and no, it was awesome. So I called him, and I talked to her wife, and I said, you're probably getting a lot of Nerf requests now. I'm sure people want to send you stuff, but is there one I can get your son? I would love to send him one. And she goes, yeah, we really are. And they're going to donate the extra ones they're getting. But she goes, if just anything that you could send me personal, maybe some dog tags or she goes, he has his own LCE, his own web gear. Like for a 4-year-old, he's got his own
nice.
So I said, yeah, I'll find something. I didn't know if I had any dog tags. I mean, my dog tags, I don't have any extra there. And the ones I do are locked up but I found some dog tags from Tyrone. I had some from Tyrone Woods, and I found some of those. And I found some a web belt that you put like magazine holders and stuff on. I found some of that. I have this will be when he gets older, but I found and when he gets his real gun, I found a little rifle pistol grip that I had, and I signed it and I put it in there. And I said, would you guys be willing when he gets old enough to read, could I send him some books and a DVD, a Blu-ray? And she was like,
We
please.
might be. How old is he? He's probably about 4.
Yeah,
he looked a little older. I would have.
Yeah.
I would have thought he was reading because I was thinking like maybe 6.
Well,
7.
I thought. She goes, no, he's 4. He's just a big kid, and it was a great conversation.
Because he seemed, even just from the video, he seemed very mature, and even though he did cry, like he handled it very well.
Very, very. It just breaks your heart. But no, he did, and that says a lot for his parents too. So, I think in the end.
And also, by the way, I'll throw this out there for the people who are like, oh, I would have flipped out on him. I think the mom handled it well too, because then you don't want your child to think there's a big commotion. That wouldn't solve anything.
And that's what she handled it better than I would have. She did an amazing job as a family, and she's just a sweet, nice, very nice lady. You can tell the family's got it together just by you can always tell by the mom. Can't always tell by the dad, but the mom and loving family and he's all right. The boy actually, he's resilient. 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds are resilient, and I'm sure he's going to have a wonderful Christmas. And honestly, I'm just putting together of stuff that I have had. There's one thing I do want to buy. I'm not going to tell them what it is because they're going to hear it. But that my 4-year-old loves, that he loves. It's a piece of equipment, but I won't say that he loves, and I'm going to put that in there. But yeah, I don't ever want kids. I don't care. Kids shouldn't have to deal with any of that, man. Kids should be kids, and the spirit of Christmas and Santa Claus should be there till the day you die, because it's a spirit of giving and the spirit of happiness. And that's why do you think people put their Christmas trees up a week before Thanksgiving? Because everybody still has that happiness coming in. And when some jackaninny does that, because I'm a Santa, but I have I'm a do-gooder. I always got the do-gooders out there. I got to put my 2 cents in to fix this world. It does nothing but hurt. It hurts people. Yeah. So, but
I mean, it was a Nerf gun too.
It was a Nerf gun. It
wasn't even an actual gun.
You do-gooders out there, you need to calm your shit down. You're PC police, but you need to calm your ass, because it creates more problems than anything. It does.
Yeah.
But in the end, I think they're going to have a great Christmas, and I was just thankful for the family allowing me to talk to them and call them on the phone the next day.
Yeah, are they getting blown up with calls? Are they? I'm
sure they are. That's why I was like, holy shit, I better get on this quick, because I guarantee it, people are going to. And but it was good just to call them direct, call and talk to the mother, and again, just a sweet conversation, and the boy. It's like my son. My son wants Nerf guns too. He wanted Legos this year. He goes, I want Legos that was beautiful. I love my little boy. And then sitting, but yeah, we'll get him some more stuff taken out. Maybe get a couple Battleline Podcast shirts sent to him too. But I think the mom was just more happy that people were reaching out, and that I love that she said, now can you just anything, find some stuff, some army stuff that you might have. Can you send it to him? Because he loves the army. He loves the military. And I said, yeah, I'll see what I have. So actually I am. I've been going through all my old boxes downstairs where all my stuff is, and finding stuff that, I did. I pulled out a knife. I'm like, yeah, probably not. That's not for a 4-year-old. I mean, I wanted to send him. I have a really cool little knife, a Benchmade knife that I want, but nah, his
dad would probably want it.
His dad would probably. That's why I say with the pistol grip and stuff, I'll put in there, Dad, if you want to put that on your gun, put that on your gun, but or save it. But yeah, I'll get that box out probably. Well, not today, obviously, probably either tomorrow or Monday. I still want to add a couple more things to it.
That's cool, man. I didn't even know that ended up happening. So that's a cool story to end this on.
Yeah. Well, why? I mean, we don't need to promote that. Why? It's something nice to be done. I'm glad we're talking about it now, but
sure,
there's a lot of stuff.
Planned.
Yeah, a lot of stuff that we do, or even I'll do, that people don't need to know about, because that takes away the genuineness of doing it. If you're, hey, look what I did. Who's the Dan Blizzard? Yeah, I'm not Dan Blizzard. And where's my gun? Let me go find my gun. Somebody record me while I'm trying to save people.
I can't stand that guy.
That's
he's just like he's I don't know, man. He's like a caricature of what people think this alpha male guy is, just like hanging out with strippers in his house all day long, shooting guns. Like, I don't know. I think unless you're like 13 years old, no one really finds that guy very cool.
Yeah, no. The actual character is going and eating a sundae by the Christmas tree at the museum yesterday with your 5-year-old and your wife. That's alpha male right there.
Nice, man. So, and you did mention Battleline shirts. We do have Battleline shirts available. If you look at the link in description, you can get those. And of course, our biggest sponsor on this show is Fort Scott Munitions. They are a manufacturer of multi-federal patented solid copper and brass CNC spun ammunition that is designed to tumble upon impact their trademark in soft tissue, leaving devastating wound channels for faster bleed out and quicker incapacitation. This ammunition was originally developed to innovate and improve on the standard of military grade ammunition design. It was found that not only did the TUI ammunition outperform competitors in the self-defense industry, but it quickly became apparent that it would be a top contender for hunters alike. With the ammunition being CNC spun, the tolerances are some of the tightest on the market, ensuring you're going to receive the same results every time you pull that trigger. Fort Scott Munitions is available throughout privately owned businesses in every state, as well as direct online through fortscottmunitions.com, where you can use our promo code Battleline for 15% off your order, only available to listeners of this podcast. Fort Scott Munitions is a proud supporter of Chris Peranto, Battleline Tactical, and the Battleline Podcast. Be sure to give us a follow. January is going to be an awesome month. I am lining up some really great guests for the end of this month and into January. Chris has a lot of people that he wants to bring on. I have a bunch of people I want to bring on. And then I'm getting, shot dozens of requests. But I mean, I'll be honest, I'm not trying to do anyone favors. I want to just bring on who we think are the best people, more so than, could you get this person on, David? Because we get so many of those, and there's just so many people I want to bring on, and you want, whether it's Clint Emerson, as I've said before, or the week you're out, I'm going to bring on Cavino and Rich, who I've been trying to bring on forever. But they've been so busy because they're serious.
That's what sucks. I like those guys too, man. We'll have to have them on again when I'm on.
They'll come back on at some point for sure. I always just feel like the military guys I have to bring on when you're on, because there's that military to military connection. And then I know that war reporter at Fox, whose name escapes me at the moment, we'll have her on probably.
We'll get Holly McKay on. She's and Holly's awesome, not just because of her, but she was one of the few that would actually, and it's hard to get embedded with the Peshmerga and the Kurds. And she has some just immense story. She has fantastic stories about that, about her. I think, honestly, during the time of the global war on terror, she preferred to live in Kurdistan in the States, but she'll have some great stories. And she's coming out with a new book too. So we'll get her on.
Oh yeah. We'll definitely have her on. I'm reaching out to a bunch of other, kind of more A-list people for sure. Anything else to get to other than, hope you guys have a Merry Christmas, because that's coming up, and you're preparing for it, staying positive and all this. And yeah, I think our audience is doing their best at staying positive through all this. We're trying to do our best at keeping a show positive, because there's a lot of negativity going on. But there's, as you always say, there's always silver lining and opportunity throughout this whole situation right now. There's a ton of opportunity out there to look for.
Keep pressing, guys. Just keep looking for a chance to better yourself, get on that path that is the positive path. And if you have down times, guys, you feel bad. Sometimes this time of year too is where sometimes depression comes into it, and just fight it. You got to, and you can overcome, and you're going to get stronger for it. So, don't let the
shit throw out there. I'm sure there's a ton of guys out there who Christmas is coming up and they're stationed somewhere and they're not going to see their family. And we got to remember those guys.
Hey, bless you guys for keeping us safe out there. And some of the best Christmases I did have was overseas, though, and because you do come together, and it's very memorable. You remember them forever. So if this is your first Christmas overseas, enjoy it, take it all in. You're going to feel a little sad. Actually, before we go, one of the Christmases I spent overseas was in Kurdistan, and that's when first time I saw Polar Express. It was on Kurdish TV. And to me, that's still one of my favorite movies of all time because of where I was when I watched it. And I do love the Polar Express. I'm a Christmas guy too, but I was like,
was it in another language with subtitles?
No, it was on. Actually, they would have American movies come on, and they would stay in English. So I got lucky. But you're right. They'd come on and they'd be subtitles. That was kind of fun too. But no, I remember why. I remember being in Erbil. It was up in Shaklawa, Kurdistan, watching Polar Express. I I had the day off, and it was awesome. And again, it reminded me of the spirit of Christmas, and it made me love Christmas even more. So those little things like that, don't feel sorry for yourself, but there'll be something that pops up that you're going to remember for the rest of your life, that if you did it in the United States or home, you may not, because it may not be that memorable. But I didn't even remember my bed. I remember my room, how it was set up. I remember the TV I was watching on. And I remember just feeling like, man, this is actually kind of awesome. And I remember calling my family right after it was over and wishing them a Merry Christmas. So yeah, it's awesome. So enjoy your deployments, guys. But thank you. Thanks for what you do and sacrificing by protecting us during the holidays.